National unemployment figures currently tell a story of a steady recovery. To the casual observer of the official data, the traditional labor market appears to be returning to its pre-crisis strength. But a massive influx of workers is heading in a different direction. Between 2022 and 2024, the number of people joining app-based platforms like DoorDash and Uber skyrocketed by more than 50%. The data reveals a direct numerical overlap. Over the last 5 years, while the number of officially unemployed people fell by 3 million, the number of active drivers on gig platforms increased by that exact same amount. For many, signing up for an app is a faster, more accessible path to immediate income than applying for government unemployment benefits. It has become a first-line survival strategy rather than a choice for flexibility. This migration creates a massive statistical blind spot. Millions of people who would otherwise be registered as unemployed are instead disappearing into the gig economy, masking the true magnitude of labor instability. From a corporate perspective, business is booming. Total customer revenue increased by 35% over 2 years. However, the labor pool grew far faster. Active gig workers jumped by 80%, outstripping revenue growth. This creates a mathematical trap for the individual. Even without a single change in how platforms divide their revenue, there is simply less money available per driver because far more people are competing for each order. Algorithms maximize this imbalance, charging riders the maximum while paying drivers the absolute minimum. Sometimes platforms extract up to 60% of a fare. The impact on a driver's schedule is immediate. 6 out of 10 drivers now report having to work 10 hours just to earn what they used to make in a 3-hour shift. Platform algorithms are engineered to oversaturate markets. By flooding the streets with labor, these companies ensure every customer request is met instantly, permanently trapping workers in a cycle of diminishing returns. The contractor classification means these workers are entitled to absolutely nothing from the companies they serve. There is no health insurance, no sick pay, and no safety net for when the work dries up. All operational risks are pushed onto the individual. Expenses like vehicle maintenance and insurance now cost 30% more than they did just a few years ago, eating further into the driver's take-home pay. Drivers often travel from outside major metros to chase higher fares, frequently sleeping in their cars to avoid commute costs. Once fuel and maintenance are accounted for, the baseline earnings are abysmal. 40% of new drivers report that their net income barely exceeds or even falls below the legal minimum wage. The independent contractor status is weaponized as a financial shield for the corporation. It allows platforms to command full-time dedication while shifting the entire burden of economic volatility squarely onto the individual worker's shoulders. This leaves workers with no room for a financial life beyond the next shift. 70% of gig workers currently assume they will have to rely entirely on personal savings to cover any emergency expenses. For many, retirement is no longer a reachable goal. 30% of people in the gig economy have already accepted the possibility that they will never be able to afford to stop working. This dependence has reached a global scale. In China, 200 million people, 40% of the urban workforce, rely entirely on these volatile platforms. But even this precarious labor is a temporary phase in the platform business model. These companies are already transitioning toward autonomous technology and drones to remove human costs entirely. The pivot is already visible in cities like Austin, Texas, where a select group of riders is being offered trips in self-driving taxis. These autonomous services are already testing flat-rate rides for a few dollars. It is a system where human labor is removed from the equation to preserve the maximum possible margin for the platform. The gig economy functions as an engineered holding pattern. It extracts years of cheap human labor to build market dominance, bridging the gap until technology is ready to replace the workers who built it.